MJ, I understand that Mitchell told you that we have a job opening up in homicide. You interested?
Yeah, I've got a job.
Oh, I know. And I know you love your family. But MJ, you got the makings of a great prosecutor. And look what you're doing. You're up there defending a dead bang killer. Is that really what you want to do for the rest of your life? Think about it.
You want Lane on the stand?
What else do we have, Dad? Lane won't let us put on shrinks or trauma experts, so insanity is out. How else do we tell Lane's story?
But his story also includes shooting Jack Bishop. Now, Jesse created sympathy for him. He'll get up there and he'll undermine it.
Still, Lane gets us back to the original crime. I mean, how badly can he hurt us?
The question is, how badly does he hurt himself?
Mr. Lane, what happened on March 14th, 1990?
Objection, Your Honor. Jack Bishop is not on trial here.
Oh, rule, you'll have your opportunity to cross, Mr. Jackson.
On that day, Jack Bishop raped my daughter.
How do you know that? You weren't a witness, were you?
No, I wasn't.
So how do you know what he did?
For God's sakes, he admitted it when he pled guilty, right here in this very building.
Mr. Lane, what exactly did Mr. Bishop admit doing to your daughter? I have here the transcript of his guilty plea if you need to refresh your recollection.
I don't need to. He said he put his penis in her mouth, and in her vagina, and in her anus.
And what precisely was the crime to which Mr. Bishop pled guilty?
Attempted rape.
Attempted rape.
There was a plea bargain. The DA was afraid that Tracy wouldn't hold up on the stand.
Mr. Lane, how old was Tracy when this happened to her?
8.
And how did what happened to her on March 14th, 1990 affect her?
She's 14 years old now, and she lives in another world. She's tried to kill herself twice, just to get out of this one. So I would say that's how it's affected her. It's pretty damn well ruined her life. All because of that man. Jack Bishop was a monster and didn't deserve to live.
You don't understand!
No, you don't understand! Jack Bishop did not only destroy my daughter's life, he destroyed mine!
Objection, move to strike.
He's not a monster!
Madam, sit down. Sit down and don't say another word. Sit down. And Mr. Lane, sit down, I'll hold you in contempt. I want order in this courtroom. Counsel at the sidebar.
Your Honor, this is outrageous and irrelevant. Who's on trial here?
Save your speeches for the jury, John.
Listen to me, that's a good question. I'd like to have an answer.
Now, you listen to me.
Whoa, who do you think you're talking to? You talk to me with that tone of voice again, Mr. Preston, and I'll have your ass.
But, Judge...
No buts, or you have your father in here representing you on a contempt charge. You got that?
All my client has is his story. You've got to let him tell it, Judge.
Don't tell me what I gotta do, Mr. Preston. Step back. No, stand back. I said step back. Jury, the objection sustained. Strike the last remark from the record.
Mr. Lane, where were you on March 14th, 1990 at approximately 3 p.m.?
On my way to pick up Tracy after school, like always, but...
But what, Mr. Lane?
I stopped on the way.
Why did you stop?
Because I was stupid. I realized that I had forgotten to pick up my blue suit from the cleaners. I had an assembly the next day, and I needed that suit. If I didn't get it then, I would have to go all the way back across town, so I went back and got it. That made me 5 minutes late for Tracy. I got to the schoolyard just in time to see her being dragged into the car. She was crying. She was screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy!"
And then what happened?
I chased the car. I couldn't catch it. minutes early. Father is supposed to protect his child, Mr. Preston, and I couldn't. My baby was screaming and afraid, and I couldn't help her. That's all I could think of. She's afraid, and that man hurt her.
Mr. Lane, what happened in June of 1997 when you heard Jack Bishop was released from prison?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't. Jesse was gone. Tracy was in the hospital. The apartment was empty. Every room, every bed. So I drank. I drank, Mr. Preston, just to feel numb.
Where did you drink?
At Flannery's at Columbus.
And did you meet a Frank Morano there?
Yes, I did.
And what did he do?
He offered to sell me a gun.
And what did you say?
No. At first. But then that night I went to visit Tracy at the hospital. They had her in isolation because she had had another episode. She was all drugged up, sedated, her eyes were glassy. They had her in restraints so she wouldn't try to kill herself again. My sweet little girl. I bought the gun the next day.
Nothing further.
I'll make this brief, Mr. Lane. Did you kill Jack Bishop?
Yes, I did.
You weren't drunk at the time, were you?
No, I was sober.
And you knew what you were doing, didn't you?
You bet.
You weren't trying to wound him, were you? With 5 bullets in the heart?
No, I wanted him dead.
And you'd been thinking about this for a long time, hadn't you?
You bet.
And you succeeded, didn't you?
I guess.
Sure you did. You shot him down in cold blood, right?
Yes. In cold blood.
Nothing further.
All right. Then we'll take a recess here.
Hey. Oh, yeah. Brought someone.
It's all right. You don't have to say anything.
Go ahead, Trey. Show him.
I wrote this and it's for you.
You read it. Read it out loud.
A poem by Tracy and Elaine. Sometimes the saints sing. And sometimes the bells ring. Sometimes I cannot help a thing I do. And I wish it never happened. But there's more.
Sometimes I want to die. Sometimes I want to cry. Sometimes I want to fly. And I wish it never happened.
I didn't finish it.
Oh, it's wonderful.
No, it's not.
Oh, it is. Darling, no, it is. It is.
Jesse said I should give it to you, and I don't know. And It's no good.
It is beautifully written. I wish that I could.
I love you so much, Daddy. So much. Up to the moon.
To the moon and back. Look at that jury. The only thing they're going to debate is who gets to pull the switch. Okay, here's what we're going to do. It's extreme, it's dangerous, but I want to put Mrs. Bishop on the stand.
Extreme and dangerous are understatements.
And Jackson will object.
Why should he? He'll think she only brings more sympathy for the dead husband.
And she does? What'll she bring to you?
Passion. Bunky saw it, she knows.
If this backfires into a conviction, you're going to be second-guessed for months. This isn't a classroom, Don. A man's life is at stake here.
Mr. Preston? I want to go inside.
Oh, no, I don't think
Oh,
that's...
Dad, it might make a difference to one juror, just one.
Preston, we've been waiting.
Your Honor, the defense calls Mrs. Julie Bishop to the stand.
What do you mean? I'm not going to go up there and testify for him.
Do you have an objection, Mr. Jackson?
No, Your Honor.
Well, then, Mrs. Bishop, you'll have to take the stand.
Now, Mrs. Bishop, what is it we don't understand?
Mr. Preston, are you inviting this witness to make a speech?
No, I'm asking her a question, Your Honor, and I didn't hear an objection from Mr. Jackson.
Well, Mr. Jackson, is there one?
No, Your Honor.
You spoke out. What do you want to say, Mrs. Bishop?
I can't just sit there and watch you crucify my husband like this, like all he was in his life was an evil monster. You don't understand how upset it made him at what he did. His life was one long nightmare about what happened to him.
What happened to him?
You think he did this for fun? He couldn't help himself, Mr. Preston, because it had been done to him. That's right. And if he were alive today, he would kill me for saying this. But from the time he was 5 until he was 10 years old, he was repeatedly abused and molested by his uncle. Over and over again. And he was just a boy.
Like Mr. Lane's daughter was just a girl.
It tortured him. And it made him do awful things. Okay?
So it wasn't his fault.
No, I didn't say that. He took responsibility, he went to prison, and he changed. Jack changed.
He wasn't the same person.
No, he wasn't.
So when your husband got out of prison, that must have been a happy day, huh?
Yeah, it was.
You brought him home to your own front doorstep there on West 95th Street? Is that right?
That's right.
Did you contemplate maybe moving out of the neighborhood?
No,
Didn't you think maybe there'd be a problem?
I can live anywhere I please to live.
Did that have to be 5 blocks from where Mr. Lane lived?
That is our home. My son goes to school there, and I have friends there.
Look at him, Mrs. Bishop, right there in front of you. Don't you feel ashamed?
Why should I? I'm not prostituting myself like you are.
I'm just asking you how you feel being in the same room knowing what your husband did to his daughter. And his daughter doomed to a life in and out of hospitals. How do you think she feels?
Objection, Your Honor. Mr. Preston's testifying again.
Objection sustained. If you've got a question, Mr. Preston, ask it.
Mrs. Bishop, you love your son, Danny, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Is it fair to say you love him very much?
Yes.
And you'd do anything for him, wouldn't you? Protect him? Defend him?
He's my son.
But you didn't get your chance, did you, when Michael Lane came knocking at your door?
No, I didn't.
Did you think Mr. Lane was defending his child that day?
No, I don't.
Did you think he was protecting her?
No, I think it was revenge.
And you want revenge too, don't you?
That is right.
Because you didn't get your chance that day, did you?
He didn't have the guts to come into my house. I hope he gets what he deserves.
And what is that, Mrs. Bishop? What does Michael Lane deserve?
He deserves to die, okay? Are you happy?
What about his children?
He should have thought about them before.
Before?
Before he came into my house with a gun and destroyed my family. What about me? Huh? You should be killed.
Maybe you'd like to throw the switch yourself.
I want him to bleed to death like Jack did on the steps. I want his mouth open. I want his eyes rolling. What do you think of that, huh? That's what you deserve, you son of a bitch!
Tracy. Would that be sufficient revenge, Mrs. Bishop?
That's right.
Don't touch me! Don't touch me! Tracy, please don't touch me!
What's going on? What? What's the matter? What is it? Tracy, what is it? Jesus, what?
If I gotten better, does it ever happen?
No, that's not it.
It's never
That's not
happened.
true.
It's never happened.
See, that's not true.
Never!
It's not your fault.
He did it for me. He loves me. He did it for me. Me. It's all my fault. It's all my fault.
Mr. Preston?
Where does it end? You kill my son, I kill yours. You rape my daughter, I rape yours. We all know what Michael Lane did. We all heard what Mrs. Bishop would like to do. And it's ugly, isn't it? I mean, is that what we want, to live in a world where bloodlust rules over all? You know, so much of the time in life, we don't know what to do. What's right, what's wrong. But just for a moment, forget all about the lawyers, the judges, the objections, all that stuff. And just put yourself in Michael Lane's shoes. March 14th, 1990. It's a beautiful day. Sun shining, you're rushing to pick your daughter up from school. You're running a little late. She's probably going to ask you to take her to the YV. That's what she calls the yogurt and video store. It's kind of an after-school ritual. Cookies and cream, that's her favorite flavor. She always waits right at the same bench for you. Always jumps straight up in the air when she sees you coming. But you look, and she's not there. And suddenly, you hear a scream, you turn, and you see this man jerk her into a car. She's screaming as the door slams shut, and then the car speeds off. You want to follow, but you can't because you're blocked by traffic. In fact, there's nothing you can do. Nothing at all. Now, Tracy Lane survived the rape and attack perpetrated on her by Jack Bishop, but she'll never be the same. Her father, Michael, wanted justice, What'd he get? A deal cut by the district attorney's office. A deal so outrageous it put this rapist back on the same block where he committed the crime, while Tracy and Jesse and Michael Lane served what is in effect a life sentence. Don't you want to find a way to end this circle of violence? To heal the wounds? To break the pattern? You know, this is not an easy case. It's not black and white. I know, you know, I know that you see that and feel that as I have. Now, if you want to, you can punish Michael Lane. But whatever the punishment, it'll never be worse than what has already been done to him and his family. We can never take that hurt away. That's the real crime. That's the real tragedy. Thank you.
Mr. Preston is dead wrong. This trial is about one thing and one thing only: what happened to Jack Bishop out there on West 95th Street that night, and that's murder. And yes, it is black and white, and yes, it is bad. And the real tragedy is what will happen to our society if crimes like this go unpunished. Civilization, the way that you and I live, is on trial here today. And you people, each and every one of you sitting here, you're in the unique position of being able to send a message. The message is that we have laws. And those laws will be followed, because those laws are all that separate us from the barbarians. Now, we all heard Mr. Preston talk about the facts. What facts? The facts are very simple. You have an eyewitness, you have a murder weapon, and you have the defendant's own words. He sat right here and he said, yes, I did it. I killed him. I shot him down in cold blood. You heard it. Don't deny what you heard and saw here, and don't be seduced by the lure of vigilante justice, because that is not justice. It is a tragedy, what the Lane family has suffered, but that does not excuse murder. That does not justify murder. Michael Lane doesn't deserve your sympathy. He deserves to be punished for what he did, for what he did. He walked up to a man on West 95th Street. He took out a gun and he shot that man to death. That is what he did. You people here today, you are the judges of the facts. Now, not Judge Williams, not Mr. Preston, and not me, you. I ask you to look at those facts. I ask you to examine those facts. And I ask you to return a verdict of guilty. Guilty of murder. Thank you.
What time is it?
10 minutes since you last asked. If they come back before we finish this coffee, we're in trouble. They're back.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have not, Your Honor.
Is there some problem?
We understand the facts, Your Honor. It's just, how do we pass judgment? It just feels in that room to us that coming to a decision is beyond us.
You have a responsibility to this court, to Michael Lane, to the people of New York, and quite frankly, to yourselves to come up with a verdict. Now, I know it's difficult, but it can be done. Try harder. Listen to each other. I want you to re-examine your own views. I'm therefore directing you to continue your deliberations. have a verdict, Mr. Foreman?
We do, Your Honor.
Will the defendant please rise?
On the first count, criminal possession of a weapon, what is your verdict?
We find the defendant guilty.
On the second count, murder in the second degree, what is your verdict?
Your Honor, we've been deliberating for days, and the verdict is we're hopelessly deadlocked.
Are you telling me you can't reach a verdict on the murder count?
Your Honor, we've gone over this 1,000 times, but the truth is, the 12 of us are never going to be able to reach a unanimous verdict on the murder charge.
You're discharged. Lawyers, meet me in my chambers immediately. Bring your calendars with you.
You know what he wants, don't you? I say don't do it.
What do you mean?
I mean, don't retry the case.
Are you serious?
You see how this man has suffered. You saw his daughter sitting in the front row. You even saw Mrs. Bishop on the stand. They're all in pain. Can you really put them through it again?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Fine. We're ready. We'll go on and on retrying this case forever if we have to. We hung this jury, we'll hang the next one and the next. And maybe we'll find one that acquits because we will never give up. But this case is truly over now, and you know it.
What about justice? Aren't you interested in justice?
This is justice.
Dropping a murder charge.
It's the right thing to do.
For whom? For Jack Bishop lying dead in 94th Street? Or his wife? Surely not for her.
Lane isn't getting a walk on this. Williams will sentence him into the next century on the weapon. You and I have fought and battled all our lives and disagreed on a hell of a number of things. But right now in this case, the jury has decided for us. Listen to the jury. In your heart, you know they're right.
Come in. Okay, I'm gonna hold off sentencing on the weapons charge. When can both sides be ready for retrial? Now, what's November like?
November.
Can the people be ready by then?
We won't be ready, Judge. We're not retrying the case.
Excuse me? Did you say what I think you said? Because if you did...
What? What are you gonna do? You're not running my office. I'm still the district attorney. I'm the one who decides which cases are to bring.
You're making a mistake.
No, he's not. He's saying that we spent enough of the taxpayers' money on this case already. We got a conviction on the weapons charge. Sentence him on that.
Don't worry, I will. I'm gonna hang him on it. Don't you people want to see a resolution to this case?
But what do you think this has been? Sometimes the people work it out better than the lawyers and the judges if you give them half a chance. And we did. That's what this whole damn case was about.
The people are being screwed. The people are being set up like sitting ducks. And I think the whole damn thing stinks.
And what stinks here is that Lane was judged by a jury of his peers, and you don't like what they came up with.
No, I don't like it. It was nothing but a compromise.
Right. They found a way to solve the problem. And if the rest of the people don't like Mr. Broderick's decision, that's their prerogative. They don't have to vote for him.
I should be so lucky. Maybe then I could get a cushy job like the rest of you.